is using the system. You're not going to get to the end of your life and be like, oh, if only I'd posted this blog post, or
Yeah.
you're going to be like, why didn't I spend more time with my family and my friends, and why wasn't I a real life Maxi?
All right, everybody. So yeah, we are here at, I guess we'll call it the annual meetup of the Other Life and Other Life adjacent community, let's call it, and here in rainy California, as it is today. And I invited Luke Smith here as the special guest this weekend for a few different reasons. I know some of you here know of his YouTube channel, but I know some of you don't as well. So I thought I would give a personal introduction as to why I'm interested in Luke's work and why I brought him here. So Luke, most people will know Luke. People who know Luke will know him for his YouTube channel, where he talks about digital sovereignty, Linux, free and open source software, and kind of associated topics having to do with generally, building an independent life today. And as people know who follow my podcast and my own writing, I'm very interested in this new wave of opportunities for people who are exiting institutions and embarking on new, weird, creative, and independent lifestyles. Because it looks to me like
weird. I'm a little offended by that. I don't know.
Well, to a lot of people, it looks weird.
No,
and
fair,
I think, honestly, even for those of us who are doing it as well as anyone could hope, it's weird nonetheless. It's navigating it is weird. Even for people who are succeeding in it, it's like there are a lot of people right now trying to carve out weird pathways to achieve different forms of independence. And basically, Luke, I see you as one example of someone who's done this in his own way and successfully. We obviously have in common a kind of academic history. For those of you who don't know, Luke was a PhD student in linguistics at Arizona, and he has a kind of interesting story where he eventually kind of defected from the academic institutions, kind of similar to how I did in his own way in a different context. But he's never really told that story. And we have overlapping audiences. So over the years, I've received many requests to have Luke on the podcast. So I've been meaning to do this for a while.
Yeah, this has been like 4 years in the making. Like, I think it was 4 years ago you
Something
contacted
like
me first, which is probably better we waited this time because, I think, I don't know, you can sit on things longer, and also more stuff has happened, and it's more real now. So
yeah, totally, exactly. And so Luke had a promising academic trajectory as a grad student in linguistics, and he, through the things he's learned and observed and the decisions he's made for himself, he decided that it would be better to just exit the institutions and carve out his own path. And he's done quite a good job of that, doing it in a very unique way with a very unique style. For instance, something Luke is kind of known for is that he's very anti-internet, basically. He in his content, he frequently is, making fun of YouTube and making fun of and really criticizing quite harshly a lot of the norms and patterns that we see kind of dominating people's lives today when they get addicted to different forms of content, as it's called on the internet. And so Luke has a very interesting style where he's basically built, this kind of niche for himself, this platform for himself, where he's able to, express his ideas in the ways that he wants to over time to a non-trivial audience. He has a very healthy following on YouTube, and he does it in this really honest way that is pretty unique, that you don't find a lot of out there on these channels, where everyone is kind of like, tends to do the same mimetic kind of saccharine, like coaxing of their audience into, dubious, pathways, basically dubious cognitive and emotional traps. Luke is always basically, he's built a kind of a brand around not doing that. And so I think it's just very unique and interesting and admirable.
The anti-brand, yes.
Yeah, basically.
Very good brand.
But you've pulled it off, and you're doing a good job with it. But a lot of the point that I'm driving at is that a lot of people don't actually know your whole story. Even your audience, people who love your content, don't actually know the whole story. And so
it's a topic that I've avoided for a long time, because I felt like, I mean, this is why we first came in contact, because people would ask me, oh, why did you leave academia, like just at the beginning, why do you do all this kind of stuff? And it's like kind of the thing is, like, I don't want this to be, I don't know, maybe I don't think you agree with this, or I think you agree with this as well. I don't want this to be about me, because I think a lot of you who have been in academia, you've experienced this too, and a lot of us have similar stories. And really, I guess we're going to talk about kind of biographical stuff about me, but also the whole point is like how has that changed my way of looking at philosophy of science and lifestyle and stuff like that.
That's right.
Because that's what matters, you know.
Totally. A lot of people in my audience are interested in these questions and how to figure this stuff out for themselves, and so am I. I'm still figuring it out for myself as well. So yeah, I see you as an interesting case study, and a lot of people don't know exactly, you know, how things transpired for you and the decisions you made at different points. So my goal for this podcast is to basically tell that story and kind of pull out from you your, you know, heuristics and frameworks for just how you've made these decisions and how you've kind of built this platform for yourself and this quite independent and resilient lifestyle that you have now. So yeah, that's kind of the context here. I just wanted to kind of lay that out for people who, maybe are curious about what we're going to be talking about today. So I think the best place to start is I want to learn more about just the basics of your academic story, your academic narrative, because like I said, you've never really told this. I know that you studied, you were a PhD student in linguistics at Arizona,
right,
in the same department where Chomsky was for some time.
Yeah.
And I know, all I really know from talking to you is that things kind of over time gradually just felt inhospitable to you or not promising to you, and you decided to, make a run for it. But what happened exactly? Like, how would you summarize your experience and what went down?
Well, the funny thing is I did a master's at the University of Georgia. And it was a great experience. I think for a lot of people, you get into graduate school, and especially if you're, more intelligent person, you've always been acclimated to that way of life, that lifestyle. You get into grad school, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. And that's how I felt when I did my master's degree. It was just like awesome. Like you really feel like the alpha chat in the room. You can do basically whatever you want, or really you're now getting paid to do the stuff you were doing anyway. And I think that's kind of how it felt. And that the department I was at, actually it wasn't even a department at the time. The linguistics program was very small and not very bureaucratic, and I really enjoyed that. But we were talking a little bit before. One, symbolically, weirdly enough, people talk about their academic influences. One of the people who ended up influencing my academic life a lot was Donald Trump, because once I finished my master's degree, that was in the before times. That was like back in 2014, at the beginning of 2015, right? And I remember it was. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. What is it? In the Mouth of Madness or something like that, where it's not actually that good of a movie, but like in it, there's this point where he goes to, it's this guy who's trying to find this like weird novelist kind of styled after H.P. Lovecraft, and he's going to this weird town, and like driving there, he just has these supernatural experiences on the way and stuff like that, and it's just, you can tell in the context of the movie, he's going to like some kind of clown world. And that like literally happened for me. So when I finished UGA, I was going to drive all the way to Tucson, start my life in Arizona, didn't even have an apartment yet. And halfway through, I stayed the night in Dallas-Fort Worth. And that exactly was the night of the first Republican presidential debate, right? That was the night of only Rosie O'Donnell and, what's the other... what do you say to Rand Paul? You're having a hard time tonight. Classic Trump one-liners. And so weirdly enough, like at the time, I didn't think of this as like being a weird, any relevant to me at all. But I think Justin, everyone who's been in academia at this period realizes this was like a weird, like everything just went haywire. And so when I arrived in Arizona, I wasn't just arriving in a more bureaucratic department or something like that. I was arriving in like a kind of a weird inquisition. That's the only way I can describe it. It was kind of like a lot of departments, like, we are far past the day of like even pretending to dispassionately study things. I think we've really degenerated. This isn't even to say that I think that that's not an ideal that we can reach, but things. It was like working as a janitor in a cult. That's how I described it to people. Where it's like everyone there, like they know that you're not